You may have heard the shocking story, leaked audio released by CNN of Donald Trump saying that he did not declassify these documents. And you know what I said the other day? I said, I bet Trump was being a braggart, was boasting, had these documents he thought he was allowed to have, but said I can't share them. And then later, because he's being indicted, he now says, no, I did declassify them. I was wrong. I was wrong. And this is why you have to wait 3 days whenever a story like this comes out. It is now proven that the audio tape is a hoax. Confirmed. How do we know? The documents in question related to the story about Iran are not a part of the indictment. Oh, so what was Trump talking about? They're not indicting Donald Trump over these documents. CBS News confirms Iran memo not among the 31 records underlying charges in Trump federal indictment from CBS News. So why does Salon say this is so bad for Trump? Legal experts say leaked audio even more damning than the indictment. It's a trick. It's a hoax. And now we have the context around what may have happened. Donald Trump, according to his defense, the reason why they say it actually exonerates him, which is a bit silly, he wasn't actually holding classified documents. And I think that we lean in that direction because he wasn't indicted for having any classified documents related to Iran. What was Trump doing? In the leaked audio, Donald Trump says, you can hear him rifling through papers. And he says, here's the documents. Or he doesn't say that. He says, you take a look at this. Look at this right here, what they were trying to do. And then he says, but this is all highly confidential. It's secret. We could have declassified it. What's the context? It would seem more likely than not that Donald Trump was flipping through copies of magazine articles that show, and we have this, I think I have this tweet from Jack Posobiec, the New Yorker running the story about Donald Trump. Here's one, Jake Tapper, quote, "You're going to have an effing war, Mark Milley's fight to stop Trump from striking Iran, NewYorker.com. So now we know what is the most likely scenario to have occurred, considering Trump was not charged for this. Donald Trump had that story from the New Yorker printed out, was flipping through papers and said, see this? This is what they were trying to do. Milley gives me this, and he says he wants to do it. He's showing them the New Yorker. And then he says, but all this stuff's highly classified. He's referring to other information, not the papers he had in question. The easiest way to explain this. Imagine you secretly recorded a teenager playing Grand Theft Auto, talking about his plans to steal cars and kidnap and hurt people. And then you played it in the media like, look at what this kid was saying. People would be like, whoa. But the context was he was playing a video game. He was talking about a video game. Now, we all know that our favorite leftist streamers like to incite violence and call for criminal activity and then say in a video game because they think that will absolve them of the crimes they commit. No, you're just protected by the FBI. They're not going to go after you. But the reality is, if you were playing a game, like you're playing Monopoly, imagine recording someone playing Monopoly and they're like, you owe me rent. I want the $300 now. And then they publish the audio and it's like, they're demanding money. It's like, dude, we were playing Monopoly. Context matters. What did the media run with? They said it was bad for Trump. They said Trump should go to jail for 10 years. Hoax. All right. Let me read you the story from CBS News. Then I want to show you what they were claiming in the media. But I want to make sure I break this down and give you the gist right away. What we know for sure. Donald Trump is not being charged over whatever documents he may or may not have had. Suggesting more likely than not, Trump is correct when he said this wasn't classified documents. The papers you hear are magazine articles copied. He's showing them the story from the New Yorker or something to that effect. Seems likely considering they did not charge him. They're taking it out of context to make it seem like Trump actually had the documents in question, but he's not charged with this. CBS News reports the Defense Department memo on Iran, at the heart of the now public audio recording that was captured in a meeting with Trump, blah, 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 is not part of the 31 counts of willful retention of national defense information in special counsel Jack Smith's indictment. In the recording of the meeting at Trump's Bedminster, New Jersey golf club, the former president can be heard apparently showing and discussing what he describes as highly confidential secret documents with aides. False context. That's not what he says. You can hear him rustling through papers saying, take a look at this. He then says, we could have declassified. This is all secret. He may not be actually referring to physical documents in his possession. He may have a story saying, invade Iran. And he says, that's fake. We could have declassified the information, but we didn't. It's like, oh, I see. You get it? This is crazy, isn't it? How they lie about this. Or I should say, make assumptions. Sources said the documents were related to plans for a potential U.S. attack on Iran. It is like highly confidential secret. This is secret information. Look at this. Trump said in the audio tape obtained by CBS News. See, as president, I could have declassified, but now I can't, Isn't that interesting? Is it possible that Donald Trump actually had classified documents in a sense? Absolutely. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm saying it is likely not the case, considering he wasn't charged over any of that. Maybe he will be. Sure. I don't know. I'm saying right now, this story, they're claiming he had the documents. These are not the documents related to the actual case. So let me clarify so you understand. When I say it's a hoax, Donald Trump is charged based on certain documents. They then run this audio and say, see, look, he knew they were classified. Hoax. They're totally different circumstances. Trump may have had classified documents. We don't know, but they're not in any way related to the criminal charges at hand. They're trying to make it seem like the charges against Trump, this proves those charges completely unrelated. The document and recording are described in the indictment Smith's team secured against Trump earlier this month, recounted as an alleged meeting with a writer, publisher, two members of Trump's staff, none of whom possessed a security clearance. But according to a source familiar with the matter, Trump was not charged with unlawfully holding onto the Iran-related document discussed in the recording. Smith's 37-count indictment against Trump includes 31 charges of retaining national defense information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get the point. This story gets leaked. This audio gets leaked. The Hill reports Trump says he wasn't holding classified documents mentioned in tape. I would say it was bravado. Trump told Semaphore and ABC News in an interview on Tuesday that he referred to documents during a meeting with an author and book publisher who were working on a memoir of former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, but he did not actually have them. I would say it was bravado if you want to know the truth. It was bravado. I was talking and just holding up papers and talking about them, but I had no documents. I didn't have any documents. It's possible he did. It is entirely possible Trump is lying. I want to stress this to as much of a degree as I can. Trump may be lying here. He may have actually had documents in Bedminster and he was flipping around and showing them. The point I want to stress, they leaked the audio. Trump says these secret documents. They apply a context to that as if to say the charges against Trump about documents, those were them. They are not. They are not. Perhaps Trump did something wrong with whatever this audio is, but the audio is unrelated to the criminal charges. The transcript of the meeting at Trump's golf club was included in the indictment CNN first obtained, but he is not charged related to any of these documents. Trump started on the recording discussing a document he said contained information about a hypothetical plan to attack Iran. And this is really interesting because we don't know that's true. I initially assumed that to be the case, and I think it's fair a lot of people did. But if you now go back and listen and go, oh, Trump may have been holding up a news story and then generally referencing intelligence he did not declassify, but was not holding the documents himself. We don't know. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Here's what Salon wrote. A picture is worth 1,000 words. This audio could be worth 1,000 days behind bars. Yeah. Trump on the recording, which was cited in the 37-count indictment handed down by the federal grand jury earlier this month, suggests he is holding a secret document detailing contingency plans to attack Iran while talking to former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, autobiography ghostwriters. These are the papers, Trump said in the recording, referring to something highly confidential. You see how they don't give you the actual transcript of what was said? Let me show you this. Jack Posobiec writes, DOJ claims Trump is on tape showing classified docs on July 21, 2021. The docs have never been found. Never been found? Huh. But 6 days before, on July 15th, the New Yorker had an article where Milley accused Trump of wanting to strike Iran. Is it possible he was just holding the article? Here is Jake Tapper of CNN pushing the story just days before Trump's comments. Did Jake speak up when CNN published their exclusive audio? Trump's lawyer should subpoena him. You mean to tell me 6 days before Trump was talking about this, the New Yorker ran this exact story? They never found the documents. This is the indictment. It says on July 21, When he was no longer president, Trump gave an interview in his office at the Bedminster Club to a writer and publisher in connection with a then forthcoming book. 2 members of Trump's staff also attended the interview, which was recorded with Trump's knowledge and consent. Before the interview, the media had published reports that at the end of Trump's term as president, a senior military official purportedly feared that Trump might order an attack on country A, and that senior military official advised Trump against doing so. Upon greeting the ghostwriter, publisher, and 2 of his staff members, Trump stated, "Look what I found. This was Milley," we know it's Milley's plan of attack. "Read it and just show it. It's interesting." Later in the interview, Trump engaged in the following exchange. "Well, with Milley, let me see. I can show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't that amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look, this was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Department of Defense and him." It does sound like Trump is saying, here are the actual military documents. Understand this context, either of which may be true. I'm not saying I know definitively. I'm saying if they did not find any documents and they did not charge Trump with these documents, we should not make the assumption he was actually holding documents. He may have picked up the New Yorker report or any other newspaper clippings, because we know that within his documents, it's already included in all the stories, Trump had newspaper clippings. That is a fact. So imagine it this way. Trump says, let me see, I'll show you an example. He grabs the New Yorker clippings. He said he wanted to attack Iran. Isn't that amazing? I have a big pile of papers. Picks up a bunch of news clippings. This thing comes up. This was him. It says in the news story, Trump, look at this. Mark Milley's fight to stop Trump from striking Iran. Interesting. It's very interesting. So a few days later, the people who are writing about Mark Milley are talking to Trump about this. Would it not make sense that Trump says, look, newspaper, this was him. He was the one who, they presented me this. It was him who wanted to do it. And then they claim Trump was actually showing secret documents. Trump's showing a news report, it seems more likely, and saying, I could have declassified this and I didn't. Not that he was holding the papers that proved anything. He was saying he could have proven it if he took action while president. And now this story is out, painting him as the bad guy. Isn't that amazing? I will stress it again for the millionth time. It is entirely possible Trump did have classified Iran memos, and he was showing these reporters saying, I should have declassified this. Fair point. Absolutely. But considering they didn't find the documents and he wasn't charged with it, it seems to the reason we should not operate under the assumption that Trump actually had these. Trump saying, I didn't. They didn't find them. Case closed. And of course, the left will argue, well, Trump got rid of the evidence. What? So Trump keeps all of the other classified documents, but has the foresight to get rid of this one? If Trump genuinely believed he had a right to keep these documents, and he did keep them at Mar-a-Lago, why would he get rid of these one documents? It makes no sense. The reality is he did not have classified documents. What did The View say? Lock him up already. The View co-host Alyssa Farah Griffin and Sonny Hostin suggested ex-President Trump could have been contemplating selling classified documents. Lock him up already. Sonny saying, I think allegedly it's possible he thought that he could sell them, that he thought he could. Did Hillary Clinton think she was going to sell her documents? I mean, maybe, right? If you want to play that game. Joy Behar. Well, everything about him is making money, so why not? Sonny, exactly. Yeah, like I'm not saying everybody, I don't want to get sued. Alyssa Farr Griffin, to be honest, I wondered that with the documents reportedly about the Saudis as well, because he obviously has financial interest in the Gulf. I don't want to speculate too much, but I think that what this prosecution is going to have to get into is he's already broken enough laws, whether there's intent and trying to undermine our U.S. national security behind it. But I mean, that's something that's so why? What's the why? And you never have a blah, blah, blah. He's a grifter. Lock him up already. Lock him up. He discussed the contents of classified information with people without security clearances and then acknowledges he can't declassify since he's not president. It's a cut and dried case. He has no defense, which is why I said a couple of weeks ago, he is ripe for a plea. And I think I asked you this. This is why these people, they keep doing this. And this is why it's the rule. When a story comes out about this, you've got to wait. Okay. Legal experts say it's bad. These are the papers. There was no document. That was a massive amount of papers and everything else talking about Iran and other things Trump told the network. And it may have been held up or may not, but that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles. National Security Attorney Bradley Moss tweeted, the audio shows this wasn't newspaper articles. He has the document right there. No, it doesn't. It literally does not. Trump says, I'll show you an example. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look at this. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the department. This is the Defense Department and him. He could literally be pointing to a news story saying, this was Milley. Mrs. Milley, they presented me this. I didn't want to do this. You see? Okay. If Donald Trump did wrong, please lock him up. No question. And I think most of the presidents have done wrong. But you better come to me with an indictment against Hillary Clinton, who did worse. I will stress that point again. I'm trying to be careful here. I don't know what's going to happen. During the Russiagate scandal, I was very on the fence and said, we'll see what the evidence has to behold. And boy, did I learn a lesson. It was a hoax. Seriously. We know they fabricated evidence. They lied about so much and they won awards for it. Now it's possible Trump may have done something wrong here, but I ain't giving them the benefit of the doubt because they lie about everything. The reality is they didn't find documents. They didn't charge Trump with having documents. And Trump says he was talking about a news report. And there's literally evidence a news report had come out a week prior exactly about this. So the story comes out. Trump says, look at this story. And there you go. That's the real context. But they lie. It's what they do. They lie. And it's crazy, isn't it? From the Wall Street Journal. Why Trump had a right to keep the documents. Michael Bekesha of Judicial Watch reinforces his argument about the Clinton sock drawer case. The implications of the Clinton sock drawer case laid out in my op-ed shouldn't be derided. The Constitution and the Presidential Records Act aren't as simple as former Attorney General Bill Barr and letter writer James Wendell think. Not every record created by a federal agency is an agency record. Basically, we had a member call in last night to IRL. Made a great point. Classification is for the president and no one else. The president is above all classification. The president can look at anything he wants. The president can retain anything he wants. End of story. Classification is for you so that you don't share things outside of what the president determines you should be able to share. That is, say, under the Constitution, the president can keep whatever he wants. Now, there's the Presidential Records Act, but Congress doesn't have the authority over the executive branch. It's an interesting point. Therefore, when a president takes documents with him, it's not classified for him. He can have them. I'll tell you this. You want to play the game? I'll play the game. You better arrest Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden as well, because they also had classified documents. What about Bill Clinton? They say the indictment doesn't allege that Mr. Trump swooped down into agencies, took records that didn't belong to him and hid them in boxes. It claims that he kept records received by him as president. 30 years of legal precedent suggest that the records Mr. Trump retained aren't agency records and that his decision to maintain these records can't be second guessed. I'm not surprised we are now seeing this hoax because this is the game. This is what the 72-hour rule. The media comes out. They accuse Trump of doing something wrong. And then sure enough, it turns out they lied. They lied. Considering everything we've seen about the media lying about Trump, why would I believe in any way it's possible Trump actually did what they claim he did? He simply held up a news story and said, I should have declassified it. And he was talking about the news. And the media is lying. Now they're calling for him to be arrested. Now, I assure you, viewers of The View are at home saying, wow, Trump admitted it. He should go to jail. They're saying things like Trump's going to take a plea deal. I'll tell you what's really going to happen. The likely scenario. I'll be fair. I don't know what's going to happen. The likely scenario, nothing. Impeachment went nowhere. Second impeachment went nowhere. This will likely go nowhere. They are just trying to spin whatever they can to paint a picture of Donald Trump that is not real. Is Trump a perfect guy? No, he is not. Does he do dumb things? You betcha. Did he hire stupid people? You bet he did. Milley being an example of this. What a huge mistake. Bolton, huge mistake. But is he some Soviet agent trying to sell American secrets? That's insane. And they're lying. How many times did they say the walls were closing in, the end is near, it's the beginning of the end, and it was never true? That's why I don't think it will be true this time. But sure, if you want to believe that it is true, by all means, you're free to do so. But here's a scary reality. This has been going on for 8 years, the lies about Trump. They say that every 7 years, every cell in your body has been replaced. Ship of Theseus style. People now live in a reality where the entirety of their being has been built over the course of lies about Donald Trump. To their core, they believe these lies to be true, and nothing will change their mind. So what do? I don't have the answers, man. They're just trying to stop him from winning the presidency. They don't want him to win. Why? Because Trump was trying to stop an invasion of Iran that Milley wanted. That's the real story. That Trump was trying to get our troops out of the Middle East, out of Syria, and they lied to keep them in. Because the war machine wants war. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see y'all then.